in this lecture, and after that the management, pre-hospital acute management and rehabilitation after stroke in long-term stroke prevention. So to start with, what is a stroke? Stroke or cerebrovascular accident it is a group of heterogeneous disorders which is defined as sudden focal interruption of cerebral blood flow that causes neurological deficits. As you can see in the picture, any embolism or thromboembolism or thrombus formation in situ can lead to obstruction of blood flow in the brain and can cause vascular area to be infarcted and necrosed, resulting in focal neurological deficits. Two types of stroke has been discussed. Ischemic, majority of cases present with ischemic stroke, 85% of cases, which result from either thrombosis or embolism. Hemorrhagic strokes, 15% of cases present with hemorrhagic stroke that result from vascular rupture, either subarachnoid hemorrhage or intracerebral hemorrhage. This is the CT scan differentiation between ischemic and hemorrhagic stroke. As you can see here, this is infarcted hypodense area in right middle cerebral artery area, which is showing right MCA infarction, and this is hyperdense shadow on the right side. So sorry, in CT scan it's on left side, and this is suggestive for hemorrhage. You can see the density of hemorrhage resembling the bone density surrounding, and you can differentiate very easily ischemic and hemorrhagic strokes on CT scan. Especially hemorrhage is very rapidly picked on CT scan with hyperdense shadow, but hypodense shadow on CT scan may appear later. This is again pathological picture showing you the difference between hemorrhagic and ischemic stroke. As you can see here, the occlusion of vessel in the territory of middle cerebral artery with a clot or thrombus, it leads to a necrosis of the area that it supplies, resulting in ischemic infarction. While here, a rupture of the vessel can lead to hemorrhage into brain tissue. What are the risk factors for stroke? As we know, there are modifiable and non-modifiable or fixed risk factors. Non-modifiable or fixed include age, gender, common in male compared to female, race, more common in Afro-Caribbean and more in Asian than European, hereditary predisposition, previous history of myocardial infarction or embolism, high fibrinogen levels. These are the factors which you can't modify. What are the modifiable risk factors? Hypertension, heart disease like atrial fibrillation, endocarditis, diabetes mellitus, hyperlipidemia, smoking, excess alcohol consumption, and oral contraceptives. So these modifiable risk factors can be managed, and if managed properly, they can reduce the risk of stroke in the future. What are the important signs and symptoms? Numbness, weakness, paralysis of contralateral limb or the face, very common signs and symptoms of stroke or cerebrovascular accidents. Headaches, dizziness, and loss of balance. These are also very common. Headache more common in hemorrhagic stroke compared to ischemic stroke. Visual disturbance, one or both eyes. Sometimes it is transient monoocular blindness because of TIAs in the vascular territory supplying the optic nerve. Focal neurological deficits can be seen on examination. If you see a patient or there's history of sudden unexplained coma, vascular events again should be ruled out, especially subarachnoid hemorrhage and intraparenchymal hemorrhages. I hope this has been discussed, but for repetition, the common large vessel territorial infarct, for example, left middle cerebral artery syndrome. Here you can see hypodense shadow in left middle cerebral artery area on the left side of brain. So it is a dominant area which supplies speech areas in the brain. So you will have language loss, aphasia, right hemiparesis, right hemispheric loss, right visual field cut, and these are obvious things that you can see, but most important to remember is this aphasia and dysphasia associated with left MCA infarctions. If there is right MCA infarction, as you can see this hypodense shadow in right middle cerebral artery area, what will you see? The important thing to remember is left hemi neglect. Patient will neglect left side of the body and space. So these things are obvious: left hemiparesis, left hemispheric loss, left visual field cut, and patient has usually neglect of the deficit that patient has on left side, that is called anosmia. How to investigate and diagnose the stroke? You must know about clinical features first, about symptoms, signs of a stroke, very important for suspicion of any vascular event. You must dig out underlying risk factors like hypertension, diabetes, infection, dehydration that can lead to vascular events. You must start with baseline investigation, starting with complete blood counts, including platelet count, INR, prothrombin time, partial thromboplastin time. You must start with ECG workup also in these patients to see old ischemic changes in the heart that may suggest cardioembolism. Serum creatinine, electrolytes, serum glucose levels are very important to rule out hypo or hyperglycemia in any patient presenting with acute vascular event. These are the specific investigations now, diagnostic investigations in any patient suspected of having vascular event. CT scan, usually it is a screening test and done rapidly compared to MRI. So it is more sensitive for blood but may not show initial changes in an ischemic stroke. CT scan rapidly picks blood in the brain. If there is hemorrhagic stroke, it will pick rapidly, but if there is ischemic stroke, you can miss the findings of ischemia on CT scan initially, maybe up to 12 to 24 hours. Those changes may become more pronounced after 12 or 24 hours on CT scan compared to MRI. MRI may pick ischemic, even ischemic changes very rapidly within minutes. It is also sensitive to intracranial blood, but it has utility and advance of picking ischemic stroke within minutes of onset. These are supplemental tests: carotid ultrasound to see any carotid stenosis, MR angiography of brain, CT angiography sometime done, and X-ray angiography for assessment of carotids. How does ischemic stroke look like on CT scan? As we already discussed, this is left MCA, middle cerebral artery infarction, hypodense shadow. As you can see here, it looks like this is some old ischemic infarction, because on CT scan you cannot find such dark hypodense shadow resembling the CSF so early. So it must be an old ischemic area in the territory of middle cerebral artery. Here you can see that involving temporal area. This is parietal area. How hemorrhagic stroke look like on CT scan? This is hemorrhage, as you can see here, subcortical hyperdense shadow involving basal ganglia, thalamus, and causing some mass effect in shifting of ventricle contralaterally. This is basically hemorrhage, and this is usually typical for patients with high blood pressure, uncontrolled blood pressure, to present with such strokes, such vascular hemorrhagic strokes on CT scan. So, stroke patient when presenting, you have to go for diagnostic tests with CT, MRIs, and once you have confirmed vascular nature, either it is hemorrhage or ischemic stroke, then you have to start treatment of the patient on these imaging findings. You cannot start the acute specific therapies unless you do not know the nature of the cerebrovascular accident, whether it is ischemic infarction or it is hemorrhagic infarction. So this is for the common people and the people in ambulance services. that they should be aware of these important signs. And is in a stroke, every minute counts. So stroke is an emergency. So pre-hospital care basically is concerned with the general public and the people involved, or the personals involved in ambulance services. They should identify this fast protocol that is called face, arms, speech, and time. You have to see the face of the patient to see any the drooping of the face on either side. You to say the patient to smile, and you can see the difference or asymmetry of the face. Ask the patient to raise both arms, and you will see the drooping of one arm that may suggest vascular stroke acutely. Ask the patient to say a few words or a sentence, and you can assess the speech, either it is slurred or not. So this face, arm, speech protocol or fast protocol is for pre-hospital care management, and general public should be made aware of this protocol, as they can identify stroke or cerebrovascular accident. So they can call the ambulance, and the patient may benefit with acute therapy of thrombolysis or TPA therapy, that is called tissue plasminogen activated therapy, that is usually given in within 3 to 4.5 hours. So acute management of a stroke, the goal of the acute management is to assess the patient, stabilize the patient, complete initial evaluation assessment within first 60 minutes, and to treat the comorbidities and complications. You have to complete initial evaluation and assessment within first 60 minutes, and you have to decide for the acute specific therapies within 1 hour of onset of stroke. Initial stabilization, supportive care, and treating comorbidities and specific acute treatments. This is basically algorithm showing the management, acute management of stroke. What is stabilization? Assess the patient's airway, breathing, and circulation. Patients with GCS less than 8 or comatose patients may need airway support. Nutrition supplements and adequate hydration, usually with IV or NG fluids if there is some swallowing difficulties. If you are suspecting there are signs and symptoms suggestive of raised intracranial pressure, then monitoring and measures to reduce cerebral edema is required. For example, with mannitol infused hypertonic saline, you have to reduce the intracranial pressure, and it is very common complication of any ischemic or hemorrhagic stroke. What is supportive care and management of comorbidities? You have to check for supplemental oxygen requirement in any patient presenting with acute vascular event, and you have to give oxygen if it is less than 95% on monitoring. You have to treat associated comorbid conditions, like if patient is diabetic and hyperglycemic, you have to treat it with insulin promptly to reduce the hyperglycemia. If patient is hypoglycemic, you have to treat it also so early in order to prevent the further complications and to institute the acute management. You have to correct existing abnormalities. For example, patient is underlying fever, infection, hypoxia, dehydration. These should be corrected before going for specific acute therapies, because these are so urgent things to be addressed first. You must start measures to prevent aspiration, development of deep venous thrombosis, development of UTIs in any patients, pressure ulcers, and nutritional deficiencies in any patients with vascular event. If there is incontinence or urinary retention, acute urinary retention, it must be replaced with catheterization, Foley's catheterization. So this is the general management of patient that we discuss, or supportive management that we discuss. So these things should be addressed. Blood glucose level, blood pressure management is basically different, and we will discuss it later on, because blood pressure management is different in patients with ischemic stroke, it is different in patients with hemorrhagic stroke, and it is different in patients who are selected for tissue plasminogen or fibrinolytic therapy acutely. You have to attach cardiac monitor in any patients with vascular events and to start continuous monitoring for ischemic changes or atrial fibrillation. You have to manage IV lines in any patient with vascular events so that especially you have to avoid the high dextrose solutions because they may cause excessive fluid administration and edema. Usually the drug of choice, the IV fluid of choice in any patients with adequate management of other blood pressure and other things, IV sodium chloride, it should be started to secure the IV line. Oral intake should be restricted if there is some swallowing problem, initially at least. Oxygen supplement indicated if saturation is less than 94%. You have to monitor temperature and you have to avoid hyperthermia, and you can give oral or rectal acetaminophen and cooling blankets if they are needed. So these things should be addressed acutely as well initially to stabilize the patient. This is the most important acute specific treatment slide that you should know about in patients with vascular event, especially with ischemic strokes. Which patient will need acute antihypertensive therapy management and acute antiplatelet and anticoagulation, fibrinolytic therapy, thrombolysis in situ, carotid endarterectomy. These are basically all specific treatments usually utilized, except for this acute antihypertensive therapy. These all therapies are utilized in patients with ischemic stroke acutely. In ischemic stroke, antihypertensive therapy, but there is different protocol of antihypertensive therapy than in hemorrhagic stroke. In ischemic stroke, acute therapy also includes antiplatelet anticoagulation therapy. In ischemic stroke, acute ischemic stroke therapy also involves fibrinolytic therapy, thrombolysis or thrombosis in situ. But here you can see antihypertensive therapy is the most important thing in hemorrhagic stroke, and other supportive treatment, conservative management, and sometimes surgical intervention if it is obstructive or other hydrocephalus. So antihypertensive therapy, what are the guidelines for antihypertensive therapy with acute cerebrovascular accident? In ischemic stroke, perfusion of an ischemic brain area needs high blood pressure because autoregulation is lost. So in ischemic brain area, you should not rapidly decrease the blood pressure compared to hemorrhagic stroke area. BP is only decreased when, you can see here, if in ischemic stroke it is highly raised, like BP more than 220 systolic or more than 120 diastolic on two successive readings more than 15 minutes apart. Otherwise, if BP is up to 200 or 110 in diastolic, you should not rapidly decrease blood pressure in ischemic stroke, and it is very important to notice. In hemorrhagic stroke, on the other hand, you have to decrease the blood pressure acutely, even if it is more than 180 systolic or more than 110 diastolic. And what is the other condition in which you acutely decrease the blood pressure? If you have selected the patients for TPA therapy or tissue plasminogen or fibrinolytic therapy, you have to reduce blood pressure acutely. And what is the fourth indication to decrease blood pressure acutely? If there are signs of end organ damage, for example, you have raised uricreatinine level, if there are signs of retinal hemorrhages on fundoscopy. And what are the important drugs to be utilized for acute antihypertensive therapy in case of cerebrovascular accident? This calcium channel blocker, not available in Pakistan, but it's very important. Nicodipine is usually indicated initially, and if you can use labetalol alternatively if it is not available. Labetalol is basically beta blocker, and they are given IV infusion form. Antiplatelet therapy is also an acute therapy for vascular events, and aspirin should be started immediately after an ischemic stroke. Before starting aspirin, you have to rule out hemorrhage on CT scan. And if you have selected patient for TPA therapy, aspirin should be withheld for at least 24 hours. Anticoagulation therapy, heparin or low molecular weight heparin is used in case of infarction associated with cerebral venous thrombosis, or sometimes if there is a source of cardioembolism, there are embolic strokes arising from cardiac sources, for example in atrial fibrillation, then you have to start acutely anticoagulation therapy. Warfarin also begins simultaneously with heparin, but before these you have to rule out hemorrhagic stroke or hemorrhagic transformation. If it is massive hemorrhagic transformation, you have to stop giving anticoagulation and you can rather give antiplatelet agents. What is third important acute ischemic stroke therapy, and the most important, but it is very limited use because of therapeutic window time, which is less than 3 hours or sometimes up to 4.5 hours, and if there is no contraindication, you can use this recombinant TPA or tissue plasminogen activator therapy, which fibrillarize or lyse the thrombus leading to ischemic stroke. Before treatment with tissue plasminogen activator, brain hemorrhage again must be excluded by a CT scan. You have to see the indications, which is a detailed list of fibrinolytic therapy. What are the indications and contraindications? I will not cover in this slide or in this lecture, but you must follow your book to see indications and contraindications of fibrinolytic therapy. Before treatment with fibrinolytic therapy, the most important thing is to rule out brain hemorrhage. Again, as discussed before, systolic BP should be less than 185 and diastolic BP less than 110 to start this fibrinolytic therapy. Otherwise, it will increase the risk of hemorrhagic transformation or hemorrhage subsequently after fibrinolytic therapy. Vital monitoring is also essential for initial 24 hours after treatment with fibrinolytic therapy. And anticoagulant and antiplatelet, as I discussed before, they must be stopped until 24 hours after this fibrinolytic therapy. Thrombolysis in situ is basically an angiographically directed intra-arterial thrombolysis of thrombus or embolus, and it is more wider therapeutic window and can be used up to 6 hours after stroke. So symptoms ranging from symptoms, as we discussed before in fibrinolytic therapy, less than 3 hours or 4.5 hours maximum, but this can be utilized thrombolysis in situ, in which you give intra-arterial injection of intra-TPA to lyse the thrombus or embolus, and it can be used even up to 6 hours after stroke. And it is particularly used for large occlusions in the middle cerebral artery. Sometimes in posterior circulation, for example in clots in basilar artery, may be lysed up to 12 hours after the onset of a stroke or ischemic stroke. Carotid endarterectomy is used in patients with accelerated carotid obstruction of 70 to 99% of the arterial lumen, or sometimes in ulcerated plaques in patients with life expectancy of more than 5 years. Not in patients with very old age. It is an invasive procedure. Here you can see the plaque removed from carotid artery to restore blood flow to the brain. After these acute treatment protocols, then starts rehabilitation of patients with hemorrhagic or ischemic stroke. Physiotherapy as early as possible should be initiated in all patients with cerebrovascular accidents, initially with passive movements, and later on patients should be started on active movements. You have to start early mobilization of all patients as soon as possible, and it will prevent what? It will prevent contractures, atrophy, muscle weakness, and spasticity. Occupational therapy sometimes necessary in many patients. Speech therapy if there are a dominant area of the brain is involved. These all things may improve or will improve quality of life. What is long-term stroke prevention or secondary prevention? The most important thing to address in long-term management of stroke is basically use of antiplatelet drugs, aspirin and clopidogrel. Statins are also used as a secondary prevention to lower the cholesterol level, and patients with cardiac disease, for example with atrial fibrillation, they must be put on anticoagulation, warfarin or the other newer drugs. If patient is on warfarin, you have to achieve INR of 2 to 3 in atrial fibrillation. Lifestyle modification is very important to reduce the weight, and you have to modify your dietary habits. Blood pressure reduction or regular exercises is also very important in long-term stroke prevention or secondary stroke care. So this was about briefly stroke management. I think some of the things that I have missed in these slides are the complications associated with stroke, and the most important complications probably in every patient with cerebrovascular accident. In ischemic stroke, it is the most important complication to remember is hemorrhagic transformation of ischemic stroke, and it is more common in cardioembolic strokes. So hemorrhagic transformation may lead to further raised intracranial pressure. So you have to see for this complication in any patient with ischemic stroke. We discuss about raised intracranial pressure associated with cytotoxic edema or brain edema associated with strokes. It may occur in both ischemic and hemorrhagic strokes, and the important drug therapy that we utilize medically is mannitol should be given for initial 2 to 3 days in patients with ischemic or hemorrhagic strokes. Other things that can be utilized to decrease the brain edema can be hypersplenotherapy like hypertonic saline. Sometimes diuretics like furosemide can be added to decrease brain edema. Seizure is also important complication to remember in any patients with